Coach Hayden Fry is a master at changing programs from mediocrity to smashing success. He was a great coach at SMU and North Texas State before going to Iowa. When Hayden arrived at Iowa in 1979, the Hawkeyes had not had a winning season in 19 years. In the past 7 seasons, he has taken Iowa to 4 bowls and won 2 Big Ten titles. Perhaps the finest tribute to his genius is the fact that he has been Coach of the Year in 3 different conferences. And now, words of wisdom from Coach Hayden Fry.
I have an extremely interesting topic, scratch where it itches. What does this mean? Scratch where it itches means, to me, as a football coach, to take advantage of the many opportunities that are available, particularly in a football game. Scratch where it itches means to be specific and scratch one spot, the spot that itches. For example, if we have an offensive quarterback that's an excellent passer throwing the football, then the way to stop that young man from completing the passes is to go to the source of the problem, the passer. Put pressure on the passer. I think if we apply this scratch where it itches to our daily routines of life, we can become more proficient, more successful. We try to apply our scratch where it itches philosophy to offense, defense, the kicking game, but also in regards to financial investments, our social life, whatever it might be, because it seems to condense the big world that we live in into a very small target, and we concentrate and give priority and set goals in achieving that particular priority. I think that as an old country boy, I could say that we work hard at trying to make important things important. Let's say that one more time. We try to make the important things in life or in a game important. So we set priorities, we set goals. I recall once when I became the head coach at SMU way back in the early 60s, I had a good friend by the name of Lamar Hunt, son of H.L. Hunt. H.L. Hunt at that time was recognized as the richest man in the world. I requested that Lamar try to get me an appointment with his father. He was successful. I went down early in my career to visit with Mr. Hunt. After working my way through 3 different offices, I was informed in each office that Mr. Hunt's a very busy man. He's on a tight schedule. Would you please limit your time? Walking into the office, I saw a gentleman, a very old gentleman, gray hair, sitting behind a desk. He looked up, sparkling blue eyes, the big smile on his face, and says, "Welcome, Coach, to Dallas." I shook his hand. He asked me to sit down. I did. He said, "I'm on a very tight schedule. I'm about to have lunch. Would you mind joining me?" Well, my father had always told me, don't pass up an opportunity to receive something from someone if they desire to help you. So I said, "Sure, Mr. Hunt, I'd be happy to join you for lunch," thinking that we'd probably go into this great boardroom. While I was in deep thought, he reaches under his desk, pulls out a brown paper bag, opens up the sack, pulls out one sandwich, reaches over. I recall in locating the letter opener under a multitude of letters and forms and papers, cuts the peanut butter sandwich in half, hands me half of it. I had to smile at the gentleman. I had to chuckle. He said that it wasn't necessarily his favorite peanut butter, but all that he could find that morning before leaving for work. After saying some pleasant things to me about Southern Methodist University, the school where I'd just been hired, the city of Dallas, and the opportunity to have a great football team there, he became a little bit more direct and said, "Coach, is there anything you'd like to ask me?" I asked Mr. Hunt, "How did you become the richest man in the world?" Well, he kind of chuckled. He looked at me, shook his head, and he said, I appreciate your courtesy. I'm not for sure about the title, but it's very simple in regards to the success that I have achieved. Basically, there's 3 things you have to do. Number 1, you have to make up your mind what you want to achieve or become in life. Number 2, you have to get a game plan, just like in football, on how you're going to achieve whatever you desire. And number 3, do it, and do it with great enthusiasm. The meeting overall didn't take but 7 or 8 minutes. But to this day, I apply what Mr. Hunt told me. It's so simple. Make up our minds what we really want to become or achieve. Get a plan of attack on how we're going to go about accomplishing whatever it is that we desire to be. And number 3, do it, and do it with great enthusiasm. I've applied this to football and in my life. Perhaps my goals haven't been high enough. Perhaps I would be financially better rewarded if I set my goals higher. But that isn't the thing that ranks number one with me. Happiness, having fun, enjoying my work, and there's not anything as enjoyable as coaching young men on the college level in football. A lot of sayings through the years, football axioms you might refer to them, that have really influenced me. I recall once living on a farm, I had chores, I had duties. I had to milk at least 8 cows each morning before I could come in the house for breakfast. I recall specifically one morning that I walked to the back porch with my pail half full of milk, my father standing on the back porch looking at me, and he said, "Hayden, which cow did you milk?" I said, "Dad, I milked that old black and white one over there." He said, "Son, you didn't get all the milk." And I said, "Yes, sir, I did." Well, he didn't say anything else. He merely walked down off the porch, picked up the stool, went over, sat down on the stool, took the pail, put it underneath the cow, commenced to squeeze until the pail was just about to the top, took the pail over, set it down on the back porch, started towards the barn. As he passed me, he grabbed me by the ear. I was around 9 or 10 years of age at the time. As we walked through the barn, he reached over and got the horsewhip. We got to the back of the barn. He had me bend over, and he gave me a good lick. When I straightened up, biting my lip to keep from crying, he said, "Son," he said, "I want you to remember something, and I want you to remember it the rest of your life." He said, "When you've got something going good for you, squeeze it till it's dry." I've tried to apply this, whether it be calling plays in football. If we're successful running off tackle one play, you can nearly bet that I'm going to run off tackle again. I'm going to force the defense to make an adjustment to stop what we're doing well. I think this can be applied also in life, just about any problem, or if you have a real satisfaction, or if you've been successful and it's working for you, continue to do so. My grandfather told me once, if it's not broken, don't fix it. So, in a very simple philosophy from my grandfather, my father, and Mr. H.L. Hunt, I have learned many things in regards to winning. A lot of young men today come into college, they actually don't know how to win. So we have an accelerated course just on winning. It'll last for 4 days prior to the beginning of football season, where each coach takes his turn and speaks about something that's truly important in his mind in regards to winning. After the coaching staff gets through, we ask the young men on the football team to come up and just take one word. It might be the word pride, it might be discipline, it might be effort, but we want each man to come up and make a contribution. Then we get a little bit deeper into talking about the winners through the history of mankind. We go back and we talk about George Washington, Abraham Lincoln, Winston Churchill, right on up through the sports figures. And we talk about winning and the characteristics and traits these gentlemen all had. And it's really amazing how most winners have the same basic qualities in life. Then we let the young men make their own rules. And you know, once they are educated on what it takes to become a winner, they make rules, disciplinary rules, and things of conduct for their college career much tougher than the coaching staff would, mainly because they now know what it takes to win, and being motivated, as all of us are in America, to become winners, we do win. In today's generation, working with young people, we found out it's much easier to let the young man make the decision. Then he will be more apt to live by it. I know that we've come down to one thing when we run into a tough situation in life, whether it be in the classroom, on the football field, downtown, wherever it might be. If we have to make a decision on whether it's right or wrong, we merely ask ourselves, will it help us win? If a young man can answer that it will help him win, then we want the person to do it with great enthusiasm, as long as it's within the code of ethics, it's not breaking the laws, morally, it's correct. If it'll help him win. But if he cannot figure out how it's going to help him win, we don't want him doing it. If it's popping pills, smoking grass, putting something into the body that's not going to help him win, then we don't want him doing it. And we feel like that our training code is probably the simplest in America, because the young men understand it, and they understand why we want it, because we want to be successful. I cannot think of 2 more successful people, one on the college level, a fellow by the name of Chuck Long, who was 3-time All-Big Ten quarterback, runner-up in the Heisman Trophy, Maxwell Trophy winner, on, the various awards that Chuck has reaped through his career at the University of Iowa. Walter Payton on the pro level has to be the finest gentleman that I've ever met. Both Chuck and Walter are very gifted, God-given ability. But on the other hand, they're disciplined, they're motivated, they're great gentlemen. They are the type of people that you would love to be associated with every day of your life. They bring great joy to the people around them because they know what it takes to win, and they operate their life each day as winners. I think that the most important thing today in regards to winning is the ability for a person to adapt or adjust. Obviously, you have to have flexibility, you have to have diversification, but we live in a world of change, and I think your ability as an individual to adjust or adapt in a moment's notice is the greatest asset you can have in regards to winning. We live in a great world of change. Just the other day, I was walking into an elementary school about the time the recess button rang, and here comes all these little boys and girls just flying down the hall to get out for recess. About the time one of these little girls got in front of me, she took a nosedive and really skidded on the cement floor. And I walked over to her, I put my hand on her shoulder, and I said, "Honey, I know you're hurt. If you want to cry, if that'll help, go ahead and cry." And she rolled her big brown eyes up at me and said, "Cry?" She said, "I'm going to sue." This gives you an idea of the type of people that we're dealing with today because of the news media, the things they read about, the things they see on television, the things they experience even in school. We have to be able to deal with all types of people. We have to, in football specifically, know how to challenge the young men that play the game. I think that each mother, each father, each businessman, each person has to have a challenge from time to time. You have to have an opportunity to become excited over the opportunity, whatever the objective might be. Well, I have personally always felt that way about football programs, being a coach and an ex-player. I am challenged, I am motivated to go into a situation that hasn't performed too well and turn it into a winner. I think that's one of the greatest things a man can do, a great thrill in planning and organizing and working on something that's been a loser with the opportunity to make it a winner. And once you're successful, it's a great, great feeling. In order to do this, you have to, number one, evaluate the situation. Once you evaluate the total environment, then you have to get your game plan, as Mr. Hunt said. Get the game plan to really change the minuses into the pluses. You're always going to have some pluses in any situation. Normally, you're going to have some minuses. So the secret is to be able to change the minuses into pluses and to strengthen and work hard to not only retain the pluses or the strengths, but to better those things, to help them become stronger. I think in doing this, we're talking about doing one thing. We have to understand completely that in order to take a loser and make it into a winner, we are working with people. I sometimes become amazed at football coaches that spend the majority of their time working with the zeros and X's of football. When I go to football clinics across the nation, all of the young coaches want the clinician speaker to diagram all the different plays. And the young people so many times forget it's not really important, the zeros and the X's, but the people that play those particular positions, the people that fill the zeros and X's. And so the priority in my life as a coach working with young people is to be sensitive to the young people and their needs. What turns them on? What turns them off? What do they truly want to do? What do they want to accomplish? Once I can find that out, then I try to figure out a way to motivate them so that in football, for example, that we can get the maximum efficiency from those people and they not only enjoy it, but they have a lot of fun in achieving their goals. Next, we truly believe that to build a class program, you have to do it with class people. I know many times we have not recruited an outstanding athlete because his academic credentials or perhaps his character, or perhaps his attitude wasn't as good as someone else who wasn't as good an athlete. Many, many times we have taken a young man, the man of character, over the athlete. And you know, it's helped us win. We can rely on that young man. We can believe in him. We can love him. We can get close to him, and he can do the same with us. And when it gets in the fourth quarter, where the bullets are really flying and everyone's sweating and bleeding and ready to give up, that young man with character will hang in there, and we'll find some way to win the ball game 9 times out of 10. We also believe that if we can, in the construction of our offensive and defensive football teams, we would truly like to be different. You know, when you analyze the great singers, the great actors, people that have been president of the United States, their personalities were different. The way Sinatra sings certainly is a little bit different than Crosby. The way Willie Nelson sings is perhaps a little bit different than Elvis Presley, but they were all successful because they had their own style. At the University of Iowa, we have our own style in regards to moving the football on offense. We play a completely different type of defense. We've been very successful with both our offense and defensive schemes, but mainly because we concentrate and practice each day on our particular style of play, which requires the other team to have a different preparation and only 4 days to get ready for the Iowa Hawkeyes. This is a fun type of game because it is different, and all of our players enjoy it, perhaps study a little bit harder than they would if they're doing something that everyone else does. We challenge the young men, in other words. When we run the ball on offense, we challenge a young man's mind as much as possible. We run a lot of optional football. We run a lot of optional routes by the receivers. We run a lot of optional running plays as far as blocking schemes are concerned and where the ball carrier goes. We try to stay away from being stereotyped so that the other team doesn't know exactly what we're going to do or when we're going to do it. Now, obviously, this takes a lot of practice to build the confidence and the faith, but we practice on it each day religiously. We may stunt the free safety out of the secondary to make a big play for our defensive team. We may bring the cornerback off of the corner and have an extra rusher. We may rush 9 people and only cover half the field with the 2 remaining backs if we think the other team is really going to run the football and we have to stop them. In other words, we scratch where it itches. We do what we have to do in order to win, and thank goodness we win. Don't be afraid in life to stunt or blitz or audibilize or run a play without a huddle. As long as you have the game plan for it, you know what you want to do, then do it and do it with great enthusiasm. I think Mr. Hunt, if he truly was the richest man in the world, and I have every reason to believe the reports that I read in the Wall Street Journal on the 10 wealthiest men in the world, his philosophy was very simple, and it made him very rich because he stayed to a very sound game plan. At Iowa, we stress fundamentals. We learn how to block and tackle, throw the ball, catch the ball, kick the ball, cover. These things haven't changed since Pop Warner was coaching, Alonzo Stagg was coaching. The fundamentals of the game of football have remained the same. When you think of the fundamentals in the game of football, why cannot people apply those things to other areas of their life activities? I think that the values derived from participating in football are just uncountable. But you just realize a young man that's involved in football learning how to work hard. What could be more important than young people early in their life learn how to work hard? The teamwork, the association with the team members, knowing that when they run to the line of scrimmage, if they jump off sides or line up off sides, there's a fella standing there with a striped shirt who's going to throw the flag, and they get penalized. Therefore, just as it is in life, if we play by the rules, we have a chance to win. But if we break the rules, there's always going to be someone there to penalize the individual or the corporation or the company or the football team. We learn a lot about extra effort in football. Everyone plays hard, but the fella or the team that normally gives that extra 10% is normally the team that's going to win, unless he makes more mistakes than the other team. So we have an axiom there too. Before you can start winning, you have to stop losing. I'm certain that this is true in other phases of life, but it's a great philosophy. We don't worry so much about winning to begin with because we just want to not make a mistake. Now, that's being rather conservative, but that's a very sound principle to go by until you learn how to stop losing. Once you stop losing, then you can add to your offense and your defense and learn how to win. Just like in football, we always put emphasis on defense because we use the old axiom, if the other team doesn't score, you can't come out with worse than a tie. If you don't do worse than tie, you can establish respectability. Once a coach has established respectability, obviously then he can go out and recruit some skilled people to help move the football. But it all starts on defense. If you can play good defense, have a sound kicking game, you've got a chance in any football game. This applies to life also. If you just don't beat yourself. We tell our guys there's many other values such as faith, believing, because how do you establish faith? How do you establish belief? Well, having been a member of the Marine Corps, I found out real quick how to establish faith and belief. You earn it. Morale is earned. You do it by hard work. You do it by doing things correctly, by executing. You learn it by doing it with other people who are going through the same situation, and it's extremely tough. You're pushed to the maximum. This is the way that you develop a winner. Sacrifice. Many young people today don't know what it is to sacrifice. They may think giving up going down to the local drive-in in mom and dad's car, giving that up and being out on the football field from 3 o'clock to 6 o'clock in the afternoon is a sacrifice. If they want to classify that as a sacrifice, that's fine. But once again, this is something that they're learning and doing that they can't learn in a textbook. They have to experience it, just like they have to experience a tragedy, a disappointment, something that happens to them in sports, whereas a good coach will teach them how to bounce back. Not only bounce back from the tragedy or the disappointment, but a good coach will teach them how to win as a result. Right now, we've lost 2 Rose Bowl games. Our motivation at the University of Iowa is not only to go back to the Rose Bowl, which we will do if we win the Big Ten championship, but to go back and win. I think sometimes we just look at the objective right in front of us, like winning the Big Ten championship, which automatically puts us into the Rose Bowl. Now we have to sincerely add another goal, not only win the Big Ten championship, but go back to the Rose Bowl and win the Rose Bowl. This is something that will keep me in coaching until we accomplish it. You know, everyone's not a winner. Everyone doesn't know how to win. I want everyone that's listening to this tape to understand that you have to take a self-inventory and be very honest. Make an honest assessment of yourself. Are you really a winner in regards to the goals and objectives you have set for your life? If you don't have one and you truly want to become a winner, then get a game plan. Work your game plan. You'll be a completely different person because of it. Now, the next problem. Once you become a winner, you're successful. Many people cannot handle success. We spent a lot of time at the University of Iowa talking with our young men on how to handle success. Basically, it gets down to one thing. Be honest, be truthful, be a gentleman, and you'll experience no problems. Now, that's condensed down from a lot of things that we tell our young men. The total person concept, the total concept of a winner. Everything that we do, we try to have fun. We have found out that our football players play much better when they have fun. They win more football games. As a coach, and I've only been doing this the last 7 or 8 years of my career, to really work at making practice and the game a lot of fun. I tell you, it's really enjoyable. In life or in football, basically, 3 things divide the winners from the losers. I like to think that the most important thing is total effort, all-out effort against people that don't give quite that much. Number 2, total preparation against people that don't prepare quite as well. And an understanding that winning is living. Winning is truly living. Football is a game of emotions, a vigorous, highly competitive contact sport, which basically involves the 3 Ds, desire, discipline, and drive. As I said earlier in this tape, everyone can't play winning football. It takes special people, people that have emotion, extra effort, enthusiasm, and people that are particular enough that they execute. I think if you take emotion, extra effort, enthusiasm, and execution, you can overcome anything your opponent can put on the field or go against you in the world. Winning teams composed of players who say we and our team are our kind of players. Everyone's a member of the team, win, lose, or draw. Togetherness and unity during the good and the bad bounces on the field are essential to having the esprit de corps of a winning team. This is what we try to teach at the University of Iowa. We're going to be firm, we're going to be fair, we're going to be friendly. This seems to work. If you don't have this philosophy, I would recommend strongly that you try it. Let's take an observation of a few things that we truly believe in. We believe that a winning football player has to have the stamina to go a full 60 minutes. We believe that every play is potentially a big play. We strongly believe that the mental attitude and team morale are 90% of football. The game is 90% mental and 10% physical. We believe that the greater will to win is often the deciding factor in a close game. We must be determined to win. We believe strongly that our team has always got to expect to win. We have prepared to win. All of the winners have that, what we call, extra heartbeat. We believe that all great athletes turn their own motor on full speed, but control their emotions for maximum performance. Let me repeat this again. It's so important. All great athletes turn their own motor on. They push their own hot button. They get their motor going full speed, yet they have the ability to control their emotions in order that they can produce maximum performance. As Emerson once said, thoughts rule the world. As all of us know, winners do not know the meaning of quit. Winners never give up. We look for the mental toughness. We look for the high standards of excellence, whether it be in a classroom, downtown, or on the football field. We want the young men to have a strong feeling toward the game. We want them to love the game. We want to love the players. We want the players to love one another. In other words, it's like a family. And I think any company, any organization understands what I'm talking about. The esprit de corps developed through hard work together to achieve a specific goal. We want all of our players to contribute in regards to what we do or do not do. It only takes one man, really, to carry a football team. It'd be nice if you have two, but one man can so motivate the other members of the team by his performance that the other fellows think, hey, this is the way to do it. This is the way to win. If you can get the bell cow, the one super player or the one super leader within your organization, and let the other people respond to him, you've got a winner. Roger Staubach was a great player. He had something to say about confidence. He said, I'm ready, I'm completely ready, and I know I'm ready. That's confidence. Joe Namath, a great football player, had this to say, I prepare myself until I know I can do what I have to. Then I have faith. In other words, confidence and faith from two of the all-time great quarterbacks are essential to be successful. In the long run, men hit only what they aim at. Therefore, they had better aim at something high. That is the philosophy of the Iowa Hawkeyes. Even though it was written hundreds of years ago by Mr. Thoreau, we believe in this. In the long run, men hit only what they aim at. Therefore, they had better aim at something high. I hope that you will set your goals high, get your game plan, and do it. Thanks.